Do you think like it's sort of become a burden for Nicole Kidman to go to the movies because like other people are like, I bet she loves this.
If I were to wager money, not that I'm a wagerer of money, but if I were to wager, I would wager that she's never been in an AMC theater in her life.
Do you
Mhm.
think it's harder for Tom Cruise to watch Nicole Kidman movies or Nicole Kidman to watch Tom Cruise movies?
Tom Cruise to watch Nicole Kidman
Oh,
movies.
I would go the other direction. I would say harder for Nicole Kidman.
You think so?
Only because Nicole Kidman is like an actual human being.
So everybody, what we're doing this week is something new. It's called same title Showdown. But before we get to that, we want to welcome our special guest this week, Mark Ahn.
Is it me? I feel very special. Thanks, guys, for having
You
me.
are
Coming from an
special.
undisclosed bunker
Yes.
somewhere in
Uh,
Chicago.
is it boxing themed or gladiator themed? Adam doesn't know. I don't know. Rob doesn't
Yeah.
know. You guys can guess.
Returning from the last time you were on was I think the Jack Ryan
The Jack
series.
Ryan series.
Is
Yeah.
that
That's right.
right?
That's right. That sounds about right.
Yeah. So same title Showdown is a new thing we're trying out here at Reserve Seating. It's taking two movies with the same title, and that is the only similarity. And we are going to talk about each movie. It's not going to be like a point by point comparison, but at the end of the episode, each of us will say which one we prefer of the two movies. So we are comparing Gladiator 1992, directed by Rowdy Harrington of Roadhouse and Striking Distance fame. And then we're comparing it to the Oscar winning 2000 DreamWorks epic, directed by Ridley Scott, Gladiator, starring Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, Connie Nielsen, Richard Harris, and Rob's Thumb. So, should we go chronological?
Uh, yeah, that sounds good. That
Mark,
sounds
you
good.
go first.
Yeah, so this is your first time watching Gladiator 19.
Yeah. So just for transparency, when I asked Adam about this movie, I said, obviously I'm gonna watch it, but like I had no idea what the movie was at all. Like, what's it about at all? So Adam mentioned like, well, there's like boxing in it. It's about, like a high school age kid. Although this is one of those high school movies where everybody in the high school is like 30 years old.
Mhm.
But what Adam didn't tell me was that it was set in Chicago, which like the opening thing comes up, and I'm like, is this Chicago? But then I'm from here, so I just feel like maybe that's just my bias. And then I see the L, and I'm like, it is Chicago, and so it checked like a bunch of boxes. Adam also mentioned that I'm like, do you generally like it? And he said it's a perfect movie, and I didn't know how to take that because I'm like, does that mean it's like Adam's favorite movie that it like pushes particular buttons for Adam? Like I don't know. I really liked it, and I really liked that it was set in Chicago. I like that it's a bunch of like familiar faces.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I've seen that, like that kind of thing. I love that it was sort of it's even though it's a movie that's set in the early 90s, it's also a movie that acts like it's not from the 90s. It acts like a movie from like a different time period. I couldn't tell you what time period that would be, but there's these sort of, I don't know, this like old-timey vibe to it that's a little
Yeah.
bit, I'm like, that doesn't feel like 1992. I don't think a 1992 person would say that, but you know what? That works in this movie, so I'm gonna let it go. So I really, really, I enjoyed it like a lot more than I expected. Not that I was expecting to dislike it, but I was like, oh, this is really great. I can see why Adam would say this is a perfect movie. So
I
that's me.
think Robert Loggia is sort of the Rosetta Stone of it all because, as you sort of pointed
Right.
out, this is an interesting movie in the sense that, like old timey Chicago, I feel like in my memory sort of died out in the late 80s, early
Yeah,
90s, and then it kind of felt more modern. But there were tons of guys like Robert Loggia, like even in my
true.
family,
That's true.
who were always just dressed to the nines in a top hat, everything like that. Like it's like Running Scared, like Peter Hyams Running
Yeah.
Scared, where this movie like gets Chicago cold. I like how everybody's
Yeah,
tough, but they're just like we're tough in crazy layers. like
sure.
like nobody's gonna get sick while we're fighting. I didn't remember because this is maybe my third or fourth time seeing Gladiator '92, and I didn't remember that Cuba Gooding Jr. was hardly in this. That he's very much like a supporting
there.
cast member. I thought
Yeah.
always it was like a two-hander, almost like Creed 3 is between James Marshall and Cuba Gooding Jr., but it's really not. It's kind of like a James Marshall star vehicle where they're testing him out.
I think if Cuba Gooding Jr. was in the movie more, he just would have overwhelmed it because he's
Yeah.
instantly so charismatic and in comparison to James Marshall.
He
That's
sucks
I
up the
think
gravity of
yeah.
it. It's a real like I'm going for it supporting performance in a good way.
Yeah, we watched it. Rob and I watched it like early pandemic together, where like we kind of had a few nights where we would just watch movies together and text.
Nice.
And it was sort
Adam
of
had
like,
to remind me though that we watched this already.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I feel really bad. I was like, oh, I've never seen this. And Adam's like, we watched it together, you moron. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, we definitely did. Damn it.
Did he remind you by
editorial
saying?
note, I didn't call you more.
You didn't call me moron. Adam would
Did he
never.
remind you by saying like, "Hey, Rob, it's the movie with all the hats because the hat budget for this movie is out of control.
I
Everybody
like the
relax."
soundtrack. That was good. I remember they gave away the soundtrack for free if you saw this movie opening night.
I was thinking, I almost texted you when I was watching this, Adam, and said we should start a band where we only play songs from Gladiator. And then I thought I probably said that to you already, so I didn't say it.
I've had a similar thought, but it was like the Raimi Spider-Man soundtracks. Like I want a band that will play like a county fair where it's just like all three soundtracks back to back to back.
Is it like a Nickelback cover band?
Oh,
Is that-
sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's significant the percentage of Nickelback. The Nickelback ratio on the Spider-Mans is heavy, but it's worth it.
Gladiator '92. I'm gonna throw out a hot take here. I'm not saying it's better, but it's as good as Raging Bull.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm there yet. I have to rewatch Raging Bull.
But
Technology
I think the
beyond my
thing that
years.
takes this movie into the heavens, though, is Brian Dennehy getting in the ring at the end. It's like conditioning doesn't matter anymore. Like all you have to do is break the guy's hand with your hard head.
There's nothing more Chicago than not warming up and then exercising and then dominating. There's nothing more Chicago than that.
John Hurd plays like the deadbeat dad who's back kind of like getting into a normal job. He's like our traveling salesman.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about the movie, like the reverse, like the downward mobility, all the class structure stuff is so interesting in this.
I find it so interesting that this was originally a John G. Avildsen movie.
Yes. Yep.
And I think that's how you get this cast.
Yeah.
I think like Roddy Harrington inherited a John G. Avildsen movie.
When I saw that Tak Fujimoto shot this the year after Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
And that had this cast, and then I was like, oh, it was originally Avildsen. Okay, this makes sense. Like, there's no way, with all due respect, like I really like the way this movie's directed, but
yeah, but it's also got like, I mean, it's a boxing movie that knows all the beats it needs to hit, and it does it in such an entertaining fashion. I mean, you've got like the Rocky IV Apollo Creed death thing with like John Cena.
He's really good.
Yeah, he's fun. He's got the, crazy like haircut, 90s haircut and everything like that.
Like this movie is so movie. It's like, no, we're a movie. Like we're not trash. I know you think we're trash. We're not. There's a lot going on here. We're saying stuff about class. We're saying it's incredibly well shot. It's a really, really good looking movie. The characters are they've got that grimy energy to them. They're movie characters. Everybody in this movie is a character in a movie, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many movies where characters are trying hard not to be characters in movies, or like you've got the whole Marvel thing where like everybody just desperately wants you to know that they're cooler than the movie they're in. And this movie's like, no, everybody in this is a fucking type. Like John Hurd is like down on his luck dad, gambling guy. You've got all like Dennehy as like a great villain. You've got like there's just so many characters like that are embracing the fact that they're characters, and that's what separates this from movies we see now, which is like everybody's so afraid to be in a movie. It's like, no, this is a movie. These characters are in a movie.
It's a Saturday night special to the highest degree. Unlike a movie that was meant to be a big like kind of summer box office play and kind of evolved into an awards play that I don't even think that they expected really, and that's Gladiator 2000. And this was my first time watching it since maybe '01 or '02. Like
I
Oh,
remember
wow.
watching it all the
like
way
it was
through.
maybe on like Hoosier Cinema 7 at college, or it was like I rented it on DVD. I owned the DVD for a while. I don't have it anymore, but I went through. I saw it opening day. I liked it as a summer blockbuster, and but my friends were like acting like it was the greatest thing ever, and I was just like, I'm not quite there yet. Like to me, it's a B plus, not an A. And then the Oscar thing happened, and I really turned on it,
Yeah.
because I thought that at the time, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Traffic were much better movies.
Yeah.
I was bummed out that Tom Hanks and Castaway lost to Russell Crowe and Gladiator, because I always rationalized it as a make good Oscar for him losing for The Insider the year before. But it was like two wrongs don't make a right in this case. But I enjoyed it a lot more than I used to. This time around, I don't know if I would say it's like the best movie of 2000 or anything like that, but
No.
I actually enjoyed all of the story more than the action, which was really surprised me. I was like really interested in just the characters and the situations and kind of like the politics versus the entertainments and things like that. I kind of really bought into it this time.
I think the movie is living the truth that it was talking about, which is if you win the crowd, then you win, right? You win your
Right.
freedom or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's kind of what actually happened in real life with the movie, that so many people got on board with it. And there's this kind of groundswell of populist support for this movie. I think I definitely haven't sat through and watched the whole thing in a very long time, but
Mhm.
I just feel like it's one of those movies that was kind of just on all the time, and then I would catch like 15 or 20 minutes of something of it all the time. My favorite part this time around when watching it was, well, two things. One is that I think Russell Crowe, when he has to play like a military kind of guy, maybe not necessarily just a military officer, but just when he plays like a military kind of person, he always does great. And
Mhm.
then two is um um, like conceptualizing Joaquin Phoenix's like emperor energy as like real junior high school girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's
And
really issy, guys.
yeah,
Is Joaquin Phoenix good in this movie?
Yes.
yeah, and I think I respect it more now than I did before, because I think before it seemed like too
My answer too.
what's the yeah, too like
It's like a
mustache
disparity.
twirly.
Yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
now it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, he's like exploring. He's like, how can I make this terrible person even worse? And then he's just like,
I
adding it
think
on.
this is a performance that does better in retrospect now that we've had an entire Joaquin Phoenix career,
Mhm.
seen him play so many different shades, and I can go back and look at this now and be like, oh no, he's doing something very specific. Because in 2000 he was still relatively new on the scene, like he
Yeah.
was still a new guy, coming
Yeah.
up. And it was kind of like, oh, is he overacting? Is this a drama school kid? Like, what's he doing? But now looking back at it and seeing what he is capable of, when he knows when to underplay, when to overplay, and this is actually absolutely a time to overplay it, as you said.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic because like Maximus is supposed to be the macho of the macho, and like how do we make an interesting counterpoint to that? And you get somebody who's sniveling and weak and petty and dangerous. Like we've seen that. I'm not going to name anybody, but like we've seen that so much in recent years, where you know stupid and motivated is pretty dangerous. So yeah, I mean, like I always liked the performance. I actually always thought that performance was the best performance of the movie, and I kind of seeing Master and Commander recently again made me appreciate the Russell Crowe performance more this time, because I used to look at him as sort of action figure, and now I'm just like, that's hard to do. It's hard to like hold a movie together in a part like this, because you can't fake it. You're either it or you're not, and some people just don't have that charisma to do it, and he does.
There's that, the Crow element of it, and also there's the Ridley Scott of it all, where I'm thinking to myself, I'm watching this, I'm going like, yeah, it's just, I mean, but it's Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott's gonna make anything look good. Like, it's gonna make anything, and it's like that's the rub. Like, that's where it's like, oh no, this could go a lot of different ways. And I think I personally, when I was watching it this time, was taking the Ridley Scott of it for granted. I was going
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, obviously this looks great and it moves and it does this and this. And so I was like, well, no, wait, that's hard. Like that's I need to slow down and not dismiss this movie.
Yeah, and it doesn't work without all three of those components, right? Imagine the movie with a different person aside from Joaquin Phoenix giving that performance, right? Imagine a different like lead, like imagine like Sam Worthington instead of Russell Crowe, and it's like,
Easy. That
it's
might
just
be
like
love.
whatever, right? It's called Clash of the Titans. So yeah,
And Brian
just
Dennehy.
oh my God, I'm
He would
totally
be a
watching
good
that.
Oliver Reed type, but Brian Denny's so modern. I don't know if it would work.
Yeah.
I am excited now in a way that I wasn't for a sequel to Gladiator, which is being worked on. I think that movie is gonna make like all the money. Like
Probably.
that's why I'm like always sitting here like there's certain movies where I'm just like there's so many legacy sequels. Why aren't we making, not that I want to watch it, but like if they made another Shrek movie, it would gross $2 billion. Because it's like people go to fucking Shrek raves. You don't think they would go to the movie? So there's two parts of Gladiator that's always bugged me. They remain bugging me on this recent watch. One is the Saving Private Ryan aesthetic of shuddery action sequence, which this movie does, especially in the opening battle.
That's just the time period, though.
Yeah, it's a time period thing. And then also at the beginning, it's a cool line, but when he says, you know, I think at my mark, unleash hell.
Yeah.
It's a great line. But then they immediately release the dog, and I'm like, is the dog hell? All right. So what was your favorite of the two movies, Mark?
Oh man. I'm gonna split my vote at this. Well, I don't even know. Like, I think Gladiator 2000 is probably a movie I'll go back to in the future. Like, if I'm gonna rewatch something and it comes up, I'll definitely. It would be more likely for me to rewatch it. But Gladiator from 1992 is great. I can, if I'm making some sort of list of like boxing movies or like Chicago movies, like that's like my new favorite, like in the top. So I love the novelty of it. I love the newness of it. I mean, new to me, obviously. The movie's very old, but yeah, I really liked it way more than I expected. So
that makes me so happy because when I say it's a perfect movie, that's kind of a
yeah, I mean, now I can see
high
now I see
point.
what you mean. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Rob, what about you?
I've got Mark's answer, but the opposite. Well, I got Mark's reasoning, but the opposite answer, which is 92. Gladiator 92 is the movie I'm going back to more often. Gladiator 2000 is it was what I refer to now as a stepdad movie. It's a movie I'd watch with my stepdad, which if you're watching, it's a good thing. It's a compliment. It's just like a straight down the middle action movie, a really cool kind of masculine character piece, and I will definitely watch it. It's something I could, if it's on, put it on. But Gladiator 92 is something I'd much more be in the mood to watch if I'm having like a Dark Night of the Soul or something like that, and I really need something that I want to pump me up.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll go Gladiator 92. It's an Adam Risky movie for sure. The Gladiator 2000, I'm glad to have revisited because now I can get out of my head like the whole, baggage around the Oscar season of it and just enjoy it as in a way that's similar to how I enjoyed it, when I first saw it in 2000 on opening night. But yeah, this was so much fun. Thank you, Mark, for joining us.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure. Thanks for introducing me to like a really awesome movie.
So next week we're going to be back with a Rob themed month, post-apocalypse movies. I'm guessing inspired by The Last of Us.
100%.
All right, what are we starting with, Rob?
We are starting next week.
There's a fly.
We are starting our apocalypse month with one of my picks, which movie I've never seen, the French post-apocalyptic surrealist black comedy Delicatessen.
I haven't seen it either. I haven't seen the early Jeunet movies, but everything from like Alien Resurrection onward I did see. So I'm looking forward to watching it. If you're watching this on Thursday, happy opening day to all of you who are baseball fans. Very exciting. Good luck to your teams this year. Unless it's the Guardians or the Twins.
Or the Astros. Get
or
out
the
of here.
Astros or the Yankees or the Mets or the so like four
You
of
get
you.
it.
Like,
You get it.
until next time, at my mark, unleash hell. And here's the dog.
Yeah.
Bye everyone.
Bye guys.
Bye.